Okay, let's just get right into things, starting with our minifigures. And we're gonna start with the one everyone is super excited about, the Mr. Pale minifigure. And just look at this, he looks exactly like he does in the TV show. Especially like in the scenes where he uses his powers. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry about that. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Keep the Peace, and today we have another exciting Ninjago Summer 2024 set review. This time it's the big one. It's set number 71814, the Tournament Temple City. This set had 3,489 pieces and goes for $249.99 in dollars or euros, or $219.99 in pounds. As far as we know right now, this is a direct-to-consumer set and comes out June 1st in Europe and the US, which is pretty cool. We got this set sent to us along with the others by the LEGO Ambassador Network, so big thank you to them, but I'm going to give you my personal opinions about this set. Before we get into the actual set itself, I want to show you something about this box, because it's quite unique, the way you open it up like this, and you have like a lid and the actual box itself. It's been quite a while since LEGO has done anything like this, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But with all that out of the way, let's get into the set itself. Alright, here's an overall look at everything we get in this set. The main structure is of course the actual Tournament Temple City, but we do have some smaller side builds like this hot air balloon and this little dragon build here in the front. You can also detach some segments from the larger structure. We have a lot of minifigures in this set, 13 in total. Those are Lloyd, Lord Ross, Mr. Pale, a Blacksmith, Wildfire, Roy, Jordana, Nia, one Temple Guard, Aaron, Cole, Zane, and finally Blecht. There's also one more minifigure hidden in the build itself, but I'll show that once we get to it in the build. Let's start out with our minifigures and split them up in 4 groups. First we have our OG Ninja. From left to right we have Lloyd, Cole, Nia, and Zane. All of them in their tournament armor, which features a half mask for each of them. This new golden armor piece that has this nice curved golden shoulder armor, and it lets you put 2 katanas on the ninja's back. They also all get black gloves and no sleeves on these suits, as well as a hairpiece. With Lloyd and Nia, we have their hair and headband version of the hairpieces, and Cole and Zane have their normal hairpieces. Lloyd once again uses the bright green as his primary color, so we get a bright green half mask in this set. The prints in these new suits feature a dragon scale pattern in different colors, depending on the ninja of course. I think especially Lloyd's and Nia's look really cool with the color contrast. They all have some nice metallic golden print here close to the shoulder, with some elemental design on it, and it kind of connects nicely to the armor piece, but it also has this little band on it with Ninjago letters. These also end in an elemental themed dragon head design. We have the letters M-O-I on Zane, Master of Ice, M-O-W on Nia, Master of Water, M-O-E on Cole, Master of Earth, and M-O-E on Lloyd, Master of Essence, right? They all have a belt, but notably Nia's is printed in this shiny metallic blue, which I think is quite nice. They also all have the first letter of their name as an emblem on their legs. And there's some nice leg printing going on in general, with some little knee pads behind the gi, for example. If we take away some of the accessories, we get a look at the faces. These are the faces we've had for a very long time, so nothing too crazy here. But they all have prints on both sides, with Zane having a little like adapter in the back, and the others having dual-sided faces, because Zane's would show on the other side with his hairpiece. So you can see the ninja's alternate faces here on the back, but we also have these dragon emblems here on the back of the torso. All of these are like elemental themed, and they have the ninja's first letters in Ninjago on them. Since a lot of people are probably wondering how Cole would look with the hair headband piece, I wanted to show it off here. Sadly, this set does not come with it, of course, and the version with the orange headband is sadly still exclusive to one island set, so it would have been really nice to get it in this wave. Let me know which hairpiece you guys would have preferred. The ninja in this set are all decked out with accessories. They all get one personalized weapon, with Lloyd getting his Dao sword with the little tassel, Cole getting a brick-built hammer, Nia a trident, and Zane 2 shurikens. They also all get normal and these new short katanas to put them in the armor piece in the back. Our next 3 figures are the 2 new ninja in this set, as well as a new version of an old elemental master. From left to right we have Eren, Wildfire, and Mr. Pale, who's in the Ninjago set for the very first time. Previously he's only been in an Ultra Agents set. Eren and Mr. Pale have new designs. Wildfire's design is the same as in the March sets. Eren is in his new suit with his hairpiece, the same face he had before, and the very controversial dark blue half mask. Like the other ninja, he is sleeveless and has this jacket-like print with a very subtle dragon design, some pockets, and he gets a dark blue belt and a Ninjago A on his leg print. Wildfire's suit is a simple dark red robe with this nice line pattern on it and some dark tan armor. She also gets rid of her sleeves, but she gains this spiky shoulder armor and a new hairstyle in this design. Mr. Pale has a pretty faithful design. He uses the tan hat, a transparent head with big golden sunglasses. He still has the white gloves and a dark red suit, but now with a big golden minifigure head belt and a chain. He now wears this dark green shirt with little green dollar signs on it, and as we found out during our Ninjago cast, the dollar sign has been used in Ninjago before, specifically in the episode The Absolute Worst, so I assume the dollar is a currency in the Ninjago universe. On the back of these figures, everyone gets a nice symbol. Eren gets the stylized version of his name in Ninjago that was already on the off-road buggy. Wildfire gets this little fire guy, as well as the letters W, F, and an exclamation mark. And Mr. Pale gets this nice golden swooshy symbol. If we take away some of the accessories, we mainly get a better look at the figures' faces. Only Mr. Pale has a new one here, and none of these figures have dual-sided face prints. Since Mr. Pale is a redesign after many years, I wanted to give you a side-by-side with the old design and the new one. We have the old one from Ultra Agents on the left, and the new one here on the right. And I think generally this is very faithful, with the red legs, white gloves, transparent head, and tan hat. You can kinda see a little bit of a color difference in the tan hat actually, which is quite fun to see. I personally really like the sunglasses on the new one a lot more. They're a bit bigger and not as narrow as the old one. And I mostly like the torso too. I like the belt with the minifigure head and the more normal chain than the chain with the minifigure on it the original had. I also think the dark green shirt looks really fancy with the little dollar signs on it, and I like the colors a bit more. But I also really like the pattern on the old one with the money bills. I do really like the new symbol that he has on the back. I wonder if that's supposed to be some kind of symbol representing the element of light. Overall, a really good new version for this character and very close to the original design. These figures also get accessories, of course. Wildfire and Eren both get one of these new short style katanas. Eren gets his grappling hook, now with a bit of a hilt with this golden piece and this dark green piece. And Mr. Pale gets a gun, potentially making him one of the most powerful Ninjago characters ever. Wildfire also gets 2 of these Fire Blast, or I guess Heat Blast pieces. And these can be attached to her hand, of course, and if you press on the back, you can fire them off. Our next 3 figures are Raz, Jordana, and the Temple Guard. All of them with new designs for this wave, of course. Lord Raz features his tiger head, but now with red stripes instead of purple. He now has a gunmetal version of the Crystal Council armor piece, and he seems to be going shirtless with red stripes and blue blades on his torso. He has a very simple belt, but he also has wonderful arm printing, with the red stripes and this really cool blue metallic braces on his lower arms. He also has red hands in this new design. On his gunmetal legs we have some more blue armor, as well as this little black pattern here in the top. Jordana used the same head and hairpiece she had in the last wave. She also now gets the new silver shatter spin armor, and I wonder if that will mean that she'll be able to do shatter spin. That might lend credence to the theory that she's possessed by one of the Forbidden Five. This is the orientation they make you put the armor piece on, even though it has this little symbol here on the back. Her new torso and legs look a lot more high-tech, maybe harkening back to her Imperium days. For me, it looks a little bit like Nexo Knight's armor. She has dark red hands, a red wolf symbol, and on the torso there's a little metallic copper details, which looks quite nice. She has a purple belt that has the letters SD on it, probably for Shadow Dojo, and a cord with some teeth on her leg print. On the back you can see the other side of that armor piece and the big wolf symbol here. The Temple Guard is a really nice minifigure in my opinion. He is mostly gold with burnt orange hands and this mask. He uses the dragon form armor piece, which looks quite nice here, and has unprinted golden legs and a golden head. The prints make this figure look very much like a robot, with little lights here, little metallic gold prints, and what looks like to be some shurikens or gears here on the belly. We don't know anything about this guy yet, but for me he kinda immediately reminded me of Dr. Julian's creation, like that robot from TikTok for example. I wonder if that might be intentional or if it's just supposed to be some kind of steampunk style robot. We have prints on the back of the head and the torso of this figure, but we'll see those better in a second. Without some of the accessories, we get a look at some of the prints that were previously covered by armor. You can see Jordana's alternate face here in the front too, and we especially get a better look at the prints on the temple guard. I love how they use the metallic gold and then have these fine brown lines as extra detail. On the back of these figures we can see the wolf symbol on Lord Raz and Jordana in a bit of different styles depending on their front torso print. And on the guard we have some technical details here on the head, and that T of S in the jargon symbol we see in a lot of places in this set. I assume that stands for Tournament of Sources. The three of course get weapons too. Raz gets a brick built hammer, Jordana this dual molded sword from last wave, and the guard gets this golden pike built with the machete piece. Finally, we have these more civilian looking minifigures. From left to right we have the Blacksmith, Roy and Blecht, with the Blacksmith using Euphrasia's hair in dark brown, a rather common face, and this nice sand green robe that was in Ninjago City Markets before, and dark tan legs. Roy has this spiky black hairpiece, a new purple and red robe, and black legs. Blecht gets the Han Solo hair in white, a nice older looking face with a monocle, and this noble dark tan robe with nice black and gold patterns on it and a pocket watch. His legs are also unprinted. On the back of these figures we can see that the torso design continues pretty much for all of them. Blecht and Roy have the same T of S symbol the temple guard had, so these two might be involved in the tournament somehow. Taking away the hair, I put the alternate faces for the Blacksmith and Roy forward so you can see them here. And here's the other side of course. Blecht only has a one-sided face print. These figures also get some accessories. The Blacksmith gets a hammer and this little clip piece to hold onto a glowing katana. Nice use of that trans orange katana piece. Roy is a bit more modern, he gets a printed smartphone 1x2 tile. And finally Blecht gets a fishing rod and a fish. We have two little side builds here, and I want to talk about these before the main structure, starting with the little airship. You can see here on the back we have this little golden spike, which I think is supposed to be some kind of rotor or engine maybe. In the front we have this golden hat piece, which I think does look quite nice. And on the sides we have these little red lanterns. You can see on the bottom we have this bucket piece, and this is where you want to place a minifigure. There are no studs in here though, so we can put Mr. Pale in here and he just kinda stands there. You probably want to use his hands to kind of wedge him in there, and that way he kinda looks down. But he sadly does fall out quite easily. A lot of people already pointed out that this is most likely a reference to the little balloon in the Tiger Widow Island set, so I wanted to show these two balloons side by side here. The bottom is very similar of course, the top part is quite different though. The old one has the little rotor in the back, which I quite like, but I do prefer the shaping of the new one, especially with the little lanterns on the side. Next up we have this dragon build. Sadly we currently don't have a name or any confirmation what kind of dragon this is. It's just called opposable dragon with blade style wings in like the set descriptions. Size wise this is similar to the Young Dragon Ryu set, especially because it uses the same headpiece but with a new print on it with little leaf designs around the eyes. This build is almost completely symmetrical except for that little lantern on one of the horns. The dragon has long arms with these brick built wings using these blade pieces in the front and shorter legs in the back. Taking a closer look, this burnt orange version of the Ryu head has this really nice print with the dragon eyes and some leaves around them. Behind it we have some horns that kind of look more like tree branches with once again little leaves on them. These leaves are in the new darker orange color. On the side of the head there are some small brown spikes, and from below you can see that this head is still pretty much hollow here. The head is connected with a pin, so you can wiggle it a little bit, but the head itself is also on a ball joint so you can pose it quite well, and the neck can go up and down. On the other side, we have this little lantern attached to the horn, and I do think that looks quite nice. That adds some little asymmetry, some personality to the dragon. I do think that's a fun idea. The front arms are connected with a standard ball joint. We have another little leaf up here, and there's a sticker on this curved slope on both sides. The arms themselves are very thin, just built around this thin plate with some clips here on the side, and that way you can attach the blade wings. You can of course pose these a bit up and down. They kind of limit each other a little bit, but you can kind of fold them. All the way in the front we have one of these mech finger pieces as a claw, which you can move up and down, and also kind of side to side. The hind legs are built around this curved piece, and they have a mixel joint in the top and in the bottom here on the foot. We have another leaf detail, and it's covered in some burnt orange pieces, and there's some keyed orange here peeking out in the middle. The foot itself is very simple. It uses 2x2 slope and has 2 brown claws. It has a mixel joint that gives the foot a good amount of posability as well. The dragon's tail also uses a bunch of mixel joints and has these little flowers here on top. All the way in the back it ends in a golden blade. The tail begins here with double mixel joints, so we can only move this part side to side, but all the others are single mixel joints, so you can pose it however you want. The torso build is also quite simple. It's too wide, it has this little slope here, and we have some more of these flower decorations. There's this curved tile here on the side and the front to give it some extra shaping, and on top we have this little black saddle where we can place a figure. So we can put our favorite dragon enthusiast on there and have her ride the dragon. We overall have quite some posability in this dragon, so we can get it into some goofy poses, have it stand on 2 legs. It's quite the fun build, it's quite the fun toy. I also personally quite like the fall leaf design. It ties it together quite nicely with all the little trees in the set that also have like orange leaves. Now, with all the side builds out of the way, we can move on to the main structure of this build, the Tournament Temple City. And just overall, we have this little blacksmith shop here on the side. We have the main temple, of course, and there's actually a lot of usable space up here on the side of the temple. We have this little outpost building over here and a bridge that leads to the main structure. Then in the very front, there's this little gate with a bit of a port. This set is actually surprisingly sturdy, like you can just pick it up from the back here and just lift it around. This might maybe not be a good idea, so don't blame me if anything goes wrong, but in my experience it's surprisingly stable and I moved it around like this. Here's also an overall look at the back of the build. You can see these buildings are open from the back and you can access the interior, so we can see the different stories of the temple. We can also see this nice little tree here on the side, and there's a little balcony for that outpost house. Underneath the temple we have the 3 openings for the cave, as well as an open back here in the blacksmith shop. But we'll start looking at everything in a lot more detail, of course. Starting out in this front area where we have this little pier which probably leads into the water, as well as this little crane here in the back. Behind it there's this nice entrance gate that has a very pretty roof build with this golden dragon statue here in the front. This is a new mold for this wave. We have some textured bricks here on the sides, as well as these 2 climber claws as decorations. Looking at the ground here, and that kind of applies for the whole set, it has this rock-like texture here at the bottom in dark gray as a base, and then we have some sand green plates as like grass or moss on it, while the paths are built in this nougat color. All over the build we also have these lime green little plants with some light blue blossoms. Overall, we already have a good amount of space in this area, and we can place quite a bunch of minifigures here, which is always quite fun to do. On the back of the gate, we pretty much have the same roof build with a jumper here in the middle, and there's this cord attached to the back of the gate. Taking a closer look at the little crane build, this is on a swivel, so you can rotate it all around. We can post this bar here in the front up and down, and we can twist this little bar here on the side of that wheel, and that will wind up the chain. But if we go too far, sadly the chain will just slip out of the position it's supposed to be in, which is a little bit annoying. I really like how they have these 2 ingot pieces here in gunmetal. These look like little weights that counterbalance whatever the crane is carrying. Whatever the crane is carrying in this case is a little box here in the front, and it has 2 stickers on it. The first one says "do not eat" in the jargon, and on the other side we have text saying "fragile." And what could be in the box? Well, we can open it, and what's in there? Oh, it's a little waffle. In this port area, we can also detach the little crane and the pier. These are attached via double pins, and that connection lets us actually replace these segments with the segments from the 71818 Tournament Battle Arena set. We can of course also add this little weapon holder from that set, and I really like how this stylistically works with the rest of this set, because it has the same little tree design we have all over this one. This shrine also has the double pins here in the back, which kind of lets us add another section behind it, even though this might not really make sense with like the little double bridge here. I kind of wish this shrine segment had double pin holes in the back instead of double pins. That way we could connect the whole set to the tournament temple city. Moving on to the bridge, this has a really nice rounded shape using these arch pieces. They also use some pieces upside down here, which adds quite the nice look underneath. And additionally, we have little details using these flower pieces here in the middle. The bridge itself is 4 studs wide, so there's a good amount of space here. It is also very sturdily connected with some Technic pieces. We can of course place minifigures on here. For example, we can have a little battle between Jordana and Wildfire on the bridge. And behind the bridge, we have this small little tree with some orange and red and keyed orange leaves, which you can adjust a little bit. Taking away the figures, we have one of these lines up here, kind of like the Shadow Dojo set. And I wanted to give one of the minifigures one of the hook pieces that are on the gate to try if you can slide down. But you can't really do it, there's too much stuff obstructing the figure here, but you can kind of have them hanging onto the line, which is also quite fun. The set also comes with this rock up here, and I was originally not really sure what it's for, but in one of the promo vids it showed the rock rolling down the bridge. And to roll it down, you want to put it sideways, and since it kind of gets stuck up here often, you kind of want to start here on the top of the bridge and just roll it down. And then it rolls down quite nicely and it goes all the way through the gate. On the back of the rock structure, underneath the bridge, we have once again this rocky foundation with some sand green on it, with some small little plants here. There's this nice rock texture all around it, and the little tree branch we saw earlier is attached here. There's this little brown bar here, which I think is meant to look like it holds the small building up. And there's some rocks here with this slope that actually triggers a function. In the back here we have these little stairs, and that kind of let a minifigure climb up to the next level. So you can just attach a minifigure's foot here, and I'm always a big fan of having like different ways to traverse between the different layers of taller buildings. If we activate the slope here, we can just push it in, and you can already see kind of there's something happening on the other side. Looking at this area from the other side, we have this front area with one of these rock pieces used upside down. There's this little round sticker on it with Ninjago letters spelling out secret. On the side here we can also see the roots from one of the trees, and I really like how they wrap around the rock. In the front we have this little bit of space where you can put figures. If we once again use the activator in the back, you can see this knocks out this whole stone wall section and reveals one golden machete. And honestly, I feel like this whole contraption with a function and a sticker saying secret and all that hypes it so much that it's a bit disappointing that it's just like a golden machete in there. Could have been some cooler weapon or maybe some sticker detail or something like that. In this area behind the bridge, we have another one of these nice curved tree builds over here. Once again with fall leaves and some really smart building techniques here. Use the arrow blade piece here for example, or this little flower stem, and I think that's really cool how they have you attach the branches in different ways with those pieces. You can also kind of adjust them a little bit. This of course also ties things together quite nicely with the other little trees all over this build. If we come here from the bridge, we have this nougat colored dirt path, which I like quite how this is layered. It kind of creates these little stairs. And we have some rocks up here and some more of the little grass with the plants all over the place. Here in the back we have some nice bamboo builds using the candle piece in lime, and we have of course this red Japanese style gate. This is kind of built over a corner, which is why it uses the mixel ball joints. This also allows us to kind of like angle this gate in a bit of a weird way, but I don't think that's intended, it's just so we can get this angle. There's this little house here in the back of course, and you can open the door in the front, but it's a little bit limited how far you can open it. These two cords here are attached to these garage door pieces that are used for the roof of this little house, and if we disconnect them, we can take off the whole little house and look at it in more detail. But before we do that, this area also has a lot of usable play space, so we can once again very easily place a whole bunch of minifigures here, and just in general this set has so much useful space to play with the minifigures in it. Just looking at the little building individually, we of course have the door here in the front, and on the other side there's a little balcony with these curved slope pieces here. And of course we have one window on this side as well. The roof of course is built with these dark blue garage door pieces. That's a building technique that I think was first used in the Temple of Airjitsu actually. And there is this curved arch up there. The roof can of course be taken off. There's this little plate here underneath that slides into the actual building, and it's not connected by any studs. As you can see though, the building is very small and there's not really any kind of interior detail in here, because there's also just not really enough space for that. You can of course put some minifigures in there, but it can be a bit finicky to get your fingers in there. We can maybe for example put the guard here on the balcony, and yeah, you can't really do much more in there, but the windows can of course be opened if you want to. Looking at the area behind the gate from the back here, we of course have the little house here once again. The balcony kinda is the perfect area for Black to fish. You can see there's really a lot of open space here with this nougat path. And we once again have the gate with the little bamboo of course. We have these nice little round stones over here, and many more of the little plants all over the place. We also have this one big curved tree. Once again, I'm just really happy that there's so much space here we can fill up with all the minifigures in this set. Underneath this elevated area, there are these three little cave areas. Starting with the first one, which is kind of underneath the little area with the gate. You can already see the interior a little bit, but around the opening here we have a lot of different wedges and slopes to create this nice rock structure. You can see that it is open here on the side as well as the back of the building of course. There's some little bones in there on the brown cave floor, and if we zoom in some more, we can see that there's a sticker 2x3 tile on the wall here with some little candles underneath. This sticker seems to be a blueprint for Cole's Titan Dragon mech, which is really nice to see, and I hope this means that the mech will be in the actual tournament somehow. Going in a bit further in the back, we have a statue standing in the cave here, and this is our secret minifigure I mentioned earlier. This is pretty much an all grey figure with this toga-like print on the front here. It uses the bun hairpiece, kinda like the statues in the Master of the Mountain sets. So I wonder if that could maybe be Lily again, but it could also be some different character of course. We can of course put minifigures in these cave areas, for example Mr. Pale and the guard here. The middle cave area does not really have a floor like the other two. It is open in the front and the back, and of course on the sides towards the other cave areas. This area can be used as a dragon cave, so you can put the little dragon in there, but it's quite narrow, so you have to pose the arms of the dragon very close to the sides and the tail is gonna stick out. Looking at this cave from the front, we have once again a bunch of nice grey slopes to create the cave entrance, and one of them has a sticker on there with some little cracks. I think this looks quite nice, but it's a bit odd that it's the only one that has a sticker in this whole set. This cave entrance area leads nicely into these side areas with the little blossoms on them, and on the top here we have some fallen leaves. Hanging from the top of the cave we have some stalactites, and these actually feature a function. So you kind of want to put a minifigures down here, so let's place Cole over here, our Master of Earth, and Jordana underneath the stalactites. And maybe Cole can now use his powers to knock her out. We activate the function by pushing on this nice little lantern build in the top here that can kind of rotate, and if we tap it, the stalactites crash down, and in this case on Jordana. The third cave area is open from two sides once again, here in the back and on the side of course, and we once again have some rock structures around it. Looking closer inside, we have this little niche in the wall with one of these golden statue or trophy figures inside. And on the floor we have a little bit of a campfire with some kind of maybe kebab on it. We can see it a bit better from this side over here. From this area we also see this little rock piece here in the back. And this can actually be opened up from the other side. This seems to be some kind of secret sliding door to access the cave. We can of course also place minifigures in this cave section. On the other side of that cave wall, we have this nice little blacksmith shop with a blue roof built with tiles and plates. One thing I don't really like here is that we have these little gaps in the top here, but it's not really a big deal. I do quite like that little leaf here on the roof. And in the front, we of course have this big gray oven with this nice curved chimney. In front of it, there's also a bit of an open area. This is where we have the secret sliding door in the back. We have this little part that kind of sticks out a bit, and if we push on it, we can slide open the door to get into the cave. This area is of course perfect for figures, for example the blacksmith. There is a little gear in the back of the blacksmith shop that rotates the water mill on the side of the shop. You can also see this moves these little platforms above the water wheel, and it also moves the hammer which pounds on the anvil in the blacksmith shop. If we zoom in on this area a little bit, you can see how the oven uses some of these ingot pieces to give it a masonry stone look, and there's also one of these minion hair pieces in there to represent some coal. We can actually place the blacksmith with the glowing sword here on the anvil, and that way the hammer will pound on the glowing sword, and I quite like how this looks. The whole blacksmith shop can be detached from the rest of the build, and we have this little bit of a tile construction underneath. One thing I noticed in this little area is that these little arches underneath the tiles do fall off quite easily when you move the set around a lot, so that could be a bit sturdier maybe. On the roof of the blacksmith shop, we have this little water channel, and I think that's really cool. It leads the water to the water mill, and we have this little effect piece here in the front to create some kind of splash effect of the water dripping on the water wheel. We now also get a better look at these little platforms I mentioned earlier, and what you want to do with them is you can place a minifigure on each one. For example, we can have a fight Lloyd versus Lord Ross, and then when we turn the water mill now, the figures kind of move up and down, and this is supposed to simulate like a fight on the water wheel. You can also see here they mostly kind of just hop up and down, but I also can give you a bit of a close-up with them having their weapons crossed. That kind of limits their movement a bit, but sometimes it knocks one of them down, which is quite fun. The back wall of the blacksmith shop is open, but the first thing I want to point out here is the nice little waterfall or spring up here, where the water kind of comes from and goes into that little channel. We also have some little splashes down here and a bit of splashing up here, and I just overall really like the continuity of the water coming from here and then going to the water mill. There's a small gap in the rock here that leads to the cave, and then on the side of the blacksmith shop there's another root that seems to come from one of the trees that starts up here. The roof of the blacksmith shop can be taken off, and it reveals a little area under the roof. I appreciate that we also have a little ladder that we can fold down. That way we can have a minifigure climb up to that upper level. This top area can also be taken off, so we can look at it individually. This area is pretty much just a plate with a little bed on it, but it also comes with one of these micro Ninjago figures, and this one is printed and it seems to be Kai with a little Ninjago K on him. This is the third one of these we have now. We got Cole and Jay in Ninjago City Markets, and I hope eventually we'll get all of the ninja, because I kind of noticed these have a pretty good size for the micro Ninjago City set, so it's kind of fun to populate those with these micro figures. The bed area also has a little candle, as well as a sticker on this 1x2 tile with another one of these old Ninjago cards, which they like to hide in bigger Ninjago sets. This time it's a sticker of the JZX card, and it goes into this little case over here. If we take away the micro Kai, this can of course be used as a bed for a minifigure. I assume this is where the blacksmith sleeps. Back to the blacksmith shop, on the left wall we can now see how exactly the hammer function works. We twist the little gear here in the back, which rotates the water mill, but also this little gear here with the two brown bars. These push on the hammer, and that way the hammer moves up and down. It's quite slow, but I do like how the hammer movement looks. On the other side we have this little grindstone that can be rotated, but it can also be taken out because it stands on this double jumper piece. And then in the back we have this little armor stand with a wonderful brown and gunmetal version of the climber suit armor. It's really nice to get it in a different color combo we haven't seen yet. And I think some Ninjago fans might want to use this to make their own climber Dareth version. So here's my little attempt at a custom version with some pieces from different Dareth suits and the legs from the Dragon Master suits. Back on the elevated area we have now the front view of that path that leads towards the temple. The temple itself of course has these curved roofs up here, and I really like how they use these inverted tiles to cover the gaps between the individual plates. It's a really smart build and it looks very nice because it looks very complete. On the edges we have these little red mech fingers, and on the right we can now see this curved tree from the front. We have these pillars here on the ground floor of the temple, and of course the path towards the temple has a lot of open space. So we can once again fill this whole area up with minifigures. This set comes with a lot of figures, but there's actually just more than enough space for them all over the set, and a lot of really good accessible space for play. So I'm really glad about that, and you can probably bring in some of your own figures to fill it up even more. Now it's finally time to focus on the main building. Overall, this has 4 stories, and you can split these apart like this. Take up the top, then the 3rd floor. Then before we take off the 2nd floor, we have to disconnect the little cables over here, otherwise we'll rip off the little build over there. You also might want to be a bit careful taking this one off because of the trees. The ground floor can't really be taken off, so it's pretty sturdily built. Looking at the outer wall of the temple, we of course have these curved roof areas, and the one on the 2nd floor uses these rounded windshield pieces, which I think looks quite nice. We have these little golden windows built here with these fence pieces, the top one being a bit smaller than the other 2. The temple walls are mostly white with some tan on the corners. The very top has what I like to call a dragon crown as some kind of decoration. It uses these golden blade pieces, this little eggshell or crown piece in gold, with these little claws on the side that can be adjusted, and of course in the middle, the golden dragon head. This is the mold from the Rising Dragon Strike set, but it's now in gold and attached with 2 droid arms. You can flip it kinda up like this and adjust its position a little bit, but the instructions have it down like this. The very top floor also has these rounded windows, and in there we have this little fire, which we'll see a lot better from the other side. Let's move on to the interior, starting out with the interior on the ground floor. We have this half round table in the middle of this room. It has these little flame pieces on it as some like little effects, and they're in different colors. And there's also this trophy here in the middle. Right now it's facing backwards. You can see this is built with these golden mech finger pieces and has a gemstone here on the top. If we turn it around, you can see that it has a round tile here in the front, and this actually is a printed logo, and it's the same T of S symbol that we have on some of the minifigures. So this might be their trophy for the Tournament of the Sources, maybe? We can give this to a figure, of course, and since I don't want to take any sides in the tournament here, I'll just give it to Roy. If we move him out of the way, we can see there's 2 little tables under the windows. This one over here has a little blue tablecloth and a sand green teapot, and on the other side we have a little plant in a pot. If we look through the main door, we can see the trophy with the flames here from the other side, and I do think that looks quite epic. We also have a sticker on this rounded tile here in the front with some golden decorations on it. And on the floor we have a blue rug with different shades of blue. The 2nd floor seems to be a bit of a training area with different equipment. We have one of these rotating wooden dummies here in the back, and on the side we have a punching bag that can be swiveled around using this universal joint piece up here in the top. On the floor we have 2 beds where figures can sleep, so maybe Wildfire wants to take a nap, while Lord Roz wants to work on his muscles by using the punching bag. Then Aaron can train on the dummy here in the back, and this whole area is kind of a little bit elevated. The 3rd floor seems to have a little bit of a young versus old theme going on. We have in the middle here a pot with a flower, and on the walls we have these sticker tiles. On the left we have what looks like a photo or painting of an old master on it, which I don't know who that is. Maybe whoever built the temple, or an ancestor of Roy or something like that. And then we have this old school telephone which uses a sticker here in the front on this slope piece, and it stands on a wooden table. The right side of this floor has a painting as well, but this is a younger figure which I'm pretty sure is Roy. On this side there's also a more modern looking table. The floor here is a bit small and it doesn't have a lot of studs here, most of it is tiled, so we can only really place figures around the border here. Finally, the top floor has this little flame in one of these crown or eggshell pieces. This reminds me a bit of like the Olympic fire, or maybe like an ancient lighthouse. And there's really not a lot of space up here, not a lot of stuff you can do. You can only really place minifigures on these studs here on the side, so you can kind of cram 2 of them up there. As expected, with a set this size, it comes with a lot of spare pieces. with the half masks in a lot of different colors. We luckily get one of the micro Kai figures, which I'm really happy about. And I also got 2 extra armor pieces, which I don't know if that's normal, I kinda doubt it. We also have a bunch of katanas in different colors and weapons, of course. Some great pieces here. We have 1 sticker sheet in this set, and honestly, I feel like a lot of these are not that necessary. Like, the only ones I think are super important are the 2 paintings, and maybe the Cole mech one and the J-card one are nice. But other than that, I feel like a lot of them aren't super necessary. And you can also, of course, always leave them off, but maybe it would have been nice to just get like the most important ones printed and then have like a big collector set like this not have any stickers. Because in my experience, stickers are usually the first things that like get lost over time if you have a set standing around for a long time. The set comes with 2 massive instruction booklets, and in the back of number 2, we of course have a page with ads for the other sets of this wave. This set came with paper bags for me, but some of the smaller bags inside of the bigger ones were still plastic, so I think they're still in the process of switching everything over. Most of the small ones were already paper though. Okay, it's time to give you my final overall thoughts and opinions about this set, and just in general, I'm really happy with this set. This set has almost 3,500 pieces, goes for almost $250, so I think this is a really good deal, price per part wise, but also like volume wise, you get really a good amount of Lego pieces and just build here. This set is pretty much detailed all around. There's so much like little stuff to discover, and I also really appreciate the variety of stuff we get here. So we have like a living creature in the dragon, we have a little vehicle with the little balloon here, but there's also a lot of plant life with the trees and little flowers, a lot of rock structures, and then of course like human-made structures like the buildings. So just a lot of different stuff you are building in this one set, and it all comes together quite nicely. I really appreciated that. I think a lot of the discussion I've seen about this set come from the name in a lot of ways. The set is called Tournament Temple City, and I think a lot of people expected more buildings, more like human-made structures and less nature with a name like that. And I get that. I don't really think this is a city. We have like 1 main building, little shed over here, Blacksmith Shop, and then the rest of it is like nature, caves, structures, like stone structures. So I think like a name like Tournament Temple Hill or Tournament Temple Cliffs would have been like a better name to describe what you actually get in this set, because a big part of it is like those cave structures. And I personally don't think that's a bad thing. I actually quite like that because it looks very complete. It's not just like a building and then you have to put your figures around it. It's actually just like a slice of nature with the building on it, and I think that's pretty cool. This also makes this quite a good playset in my opinion, because you can use a lot of the surface area to put your many minifigures that come in this set and move them around, have them stand in different positions, go from one place to another. Like just a lot of play you can have with your minifigures here, which was honestly a bit surprising to me, because like for a $250 direct-to-consumer set I would expect like a collector's piece that's mainly designed to put on a shelf, but this feels a lot like a playset. And I don't know how many kids will be able to get a set this size, but I think the ones who will be able to, they're gonna have a lot of fun playing in here. Speaking of those minifigures, there's some really good figures here. The 2 standouts are of course Mr. Pale and the Temple Guard, which are exclusive to the set at least right now. But I'm a big fan of all the new ninja suits as well, so it's great to have that many ninja in here. And especially combined with the Tournament Temple Arena, you get like almost all of the important minifigures, except for 2 out of this wave, which is really good. So yeah, overall really happy with this set. My kind of least favorite part is this little building, because there's really not that much to do with it. It's so small and there's like no interior. My favorite part on the other hand is the Blacksmith Shop. That's kind of like the exact opposite. It's so dense with the function, but also like nice interior details. It's very accessible. Little bed up top. There's a lot you can do in that small area, which I quite appreciate. But all the other stuff is also really good. I like the cave areas. I like the main building. I like the interior they have in the main building. It's very good stuff here. So yeah, generally very happy with this set. I think this is a great set, and if you like what you see here, I think you'll definitely enjoy it. Once again, big thank you to LEGO Ambassador Network for sending us these sets. And if you want to see more Ninjago Summer 2024 set reviews, all the others are coming very soon here on Keep the Peace, so be sure to subscribe. And see y'all soon.